Hello and welcome to episode, should we call this 3.5?
Yes.
Let's call it 3.5. So welcome to episode 3.5 of the Nightcast after last week's fail cast, or campcast as it was going to be called at one point. Once again, for the third and a half week, we have myself and the grumpiest of wolves. Hello.
Hello. I would just like to add at this point that really this is Nightcast 3.5, the one where Bio is left to do everything.
Why am I left to do everything?
So, for reasons...
Oh, I see, yes. From the technical point of view.
You know
I thought
why.
from a Nightfall point of view. Don't trust me. We've established my PvE credentials as seriously in question.
We'll just summarise this for any listeners. I did record the Nightcast. It was really good. I was really pleased with what we'd done. So to have an hour and 3 minutes of silence on the MP4 file when I played it back didn't please me.
Either that or that's all you had to say. I don't know.
Well, it was after that second video, so I think an hour of silence was
It was your equivalent of what they delivered in that second video. And I think that sums up that Nightcast quite succinctly, maybe.
Yeah, it does, yeah.
We managed to achieve it in less than an hour.
Fair point.
Okay, so we have once again the Nightfall. It's another remastered one. Last week was remastered, wasn't it? This is No, last week was Sepix. This is the what's the name? Tanix. I should know these things better.
Tanix,
yes, who has no house apart from Siva, and he is bringing with him.
Tanix has no house.
Exposure, which will be glorious fun as our shields will be increased but not replenished very, very slowly. Catapult, which will be good. I am running a Void Lock, so make full use of that. The glorious match game, which is never not my favourite. Fresh troops, it's fine, and of course, it's always epic.
And you missed out the most important.
It's very hard. Go on.
No, you missed out the most important one, that you have to remember that all the way through this, we will be hunted like the days of old. Or whatever Varric says.
He says a lot of stuff.
You are a trophy.
Where's your ship? I can't do a good Varric's voice. I'll leave that to you and Holtz.
No, well, I can do a better one than this. This sounds like I've just been giving oral sex to somebody very large, and I've now only just rediscovered my voice.
Varric?
Yeah, maybe. Who knows? Take it, Guardian.
Okay, well, before this goes in any more of a bizarre direction,
hey, I think Varric's porn is a thing.
I'm
I
sure
swear
that.
Varric's porn somewhere on the internet.
If the internet has taught us nothing, it's that there's infinite possibilities for porn.
Next week, can we just have? Next week we won't bother actually just doing the Nightfall. I'll just read Varric's porn for an hour in Varric's voice, and then
isn't that how that hideous book got created? It was just a porn version of that vampire twinkly vampire film.
I have no idea what you're talking about. Stop being disgusting. I have no idea what porn is.
I've forgotten how to warlock.
I've no. Oh my God, there are a hive over there.
There's always hive now.
Okay, that's lovely.
What happened?
Nothing. I just found myself with a face full of
I
crawlers.
can't hear anything. Yeah, by the way, Nightcast viewers, to hopefully alleviate our issues of getting audio correctly, I'm using Solution, which means that I'm recording both of us at the same time, but I can't hear any game audio, so do bear that in mind as I fumble my way through this Nightfall. So this week then, on the Nightcast, we bring you up-to-date information, only 2-ish days old of the stream that took place.
That sounds about right.
Where's he gone? So Bungie had a final stream. Oh my God, I'm just going to give up on Sci-Fi. Bungie had a final stream where it was kind of like the one from Taken King, where they just showed off a bunch of armor, ornaments, non-armaments, to use the established Deej meme.
Well, that's how you build hype, by not showing them anything that they're going to get.
And I think it's fair to say that it was the most entertaining of all three of them. Would that be fair? I know the barrier to quality is relatively low. All those things are just chasing you like
Yeah.
skip grenades.
I'm just running away and
That was
waiting
the
for you
wise
to
thing
die.
to do.
And then
But yeah, it was
I hate
of the three, and let's be clear, because obviously last week's Nightcast will never see the light of day. We weren't especially impressed. I mean, even I mean, for those loyal viewers will remember that the first Nightcast I was quite excited by it, and it still had its place, but the second week one was pretty poor. But no, I quite enjoyed what this one had, which was just a glorified look. Fatebringer's back. Yes.
yeah. Fatebringer, that's all you need to say. Just, hey guys, we're getting Fatebringer again.
Exactly,
That's it.
right?
Nothing else matters.
No, Metallica have never said it better themselves. So they obviously went over the new sets of armor once it has its ornaments applied. So obviously you can still get the original armor looking like it looks, or you can slap on those sexy ornaments, which you can get once you complete the challenge modes, and make it look like it did in their stream. But I thought, the armor itself was really nice. I thought there's nice little touches they built in, like when you shoot the armor, that it kind of goes, kind of disappears, the effects disappear. There's nice little touches. So just as a display of what they've got, I think they've put some good work into it. It's nice to see them pushing a boat out in extravagant armor. It'll be interesting to see what the D2 armor ends up looking like.
When Destiny 2 looks like complete ass, will everybody fucking whinge about the fact that all the artists were busy creating Moment of Triumph armor for players in Destiny 1? Yeah, okay, right, fair enough. I just wanted to check. That was the important thing. Had to know, just had to check.
But beyond that, the stream didn't really do anything else. We had the gorgeous Josh Hamrick again, imparting his...
Oh my god, man crush.
You know it. Imparting his knowledge, and at the end he gave that shout out to the fans. Beautiful, beautiful stuff. Always a pleasure.
You have played our game. Let us say hello. Yeah, thanks. No.
Leave him alone, so you leave him alone. But beyond that, I think the overriding thing, oh my word, apart from me getting stuck on something as I try and back out of that room, is that quite evidently, which if it wasn't clear before, it definitely was after that they really stretched one stream out across 3 streams. So definitely
I mean, we always...
Sorry, go on.
No, we knew it was never going to be like, oh yeah, we've got lots to tell you, but I do just think that it was a bit of a missed opportunity to, I mentioned this last week in the world's greatest podcast that's ever been done, which sadly nobody will ever hear. It's one of those things where they could have made it feel special. They could have made the people who have stuck with the game through thick and thin feel special. But they didn't, and they eked it out like minute by minute for this thing. They really had to work for it, and that was kind of depressing, really, because it's less about lack of faith in their product, but more to do with the fact that they feel, because they've done it before, they have an obligation to do 3.
Yeah, I think that's probably fair to say. It didn't. You don't feel anything other than them going through the motions, as you say, of having that trifecta of streams as part of their history now, and introducing a new update.
It just felt a bit too much.
Yeah, it was it wasn't needed, as you say. They didn't. They ended up, and I say this as someone who is definitely to a degree a bit of a Destiny apologist. It was just unnecessary. It kind of lost some of the hype for me a little bit, rather than kind of gaining the hype.
Yeah, I like it. Yeah, I can understand that.
Naturally, I'm excited to have Fatebringer back. It wasn't as if it was a surprise. We knew he was coming back. They obviously clarified how it was coming back, so that's that's nice. But beyond that, there was nothing really new. We knew we had new armor. They could have just released certain screenshots. We knew that there were some changes to the sandbox. It was just an excuse, as you say, to kind of have those 3 streams rather than anything actually meaningful them being discussed.
Yeah, and I think ultimately that's the saddest thing, because it kind of detracts from the value of them.
Sure.
That when even they don't feel that that it's worthy of whatever, then it just makes it feel less for me, and it's you just kind of feel a bit disappointed and let down by it, and just say, okay, then well,
Yeah, definitely. But hopefully, we continue to get Bungie streams just of a better quality, because it is nice when they stream. It's nice when they kind of just talk to community like this.
Yeah.
I think they just need to make sure they pick their format, but they pick their timings better, or they find more to talk about. We look back at the first one; it was really just talking about the record book and kind of going through half of 13 pages. It wasn't the most thrilling of things in hindsight. The second one was, oh my word, I'm absolute.
Yeah.
The second one was, I can barely remember what it was about now, if I'm honest. It was just the daylight strikes, really, wasn't it?
Loot boxes.
Loot boxes.
That there's no point buying because nothing will carry through.
And I suppose we talked about that in last week's Nightcast.
Yeah,
and the good thing of that was that absolutely, I'm gutted you guys missed it. It was all gold. No, I mean genuinely, it's good. I think we talked about the fact that you get an opportunity at 3 free ones each week. That's definitely a good thing. There is less need to spend silver. Someone worked this out, and if you've got good maths, which I don't, you might be able to. But there's X number of weeks until September, obviously, and it equates to something like 70 odd boxes if you kind of do one each week. All 3 activities, each week. So it's definitely super generous in terms of what you can get. It's just more stuff to collect. So I guess that's our overall feeling, right? Is that there's just a better way they can do these streams. I really didn't have much to talk about.
I think they just need to have more faith in the audience. Less is more, you know, especially when you don't have that much to show. It might not hurt to have a bit more faith in what you want to do and the content that you are going to show, and essentially treating it just as, a chat show when you don't really have that much to show off isn't brilliant. But that's just my feeling about it.
Yeah, no, I think that's absolutely sound. I think you saying about the chat show. I think if they treated it almost a bit more like a chat show, almost said, right, no, this is the theme of Age of Triumph. It's a celebration. Let's talk about that. Let's revisit some of the old things. Look back on some of the clips or whatever. I don't know, just an opportunity to kind of celebrate the community which is around it, which is really, let's be honest, what's kept the game going as long as it has done. Oh my word, I'm absolute. I think there would have been a lot of good stuff to kind of go through from that regard.
Yeah, I think realistically that's the thing. I do feel that they could have made more. They could have made more of that. Again, this was all on last week's Switch because it was 100% good stuff and not just me calling them out on bullshit. There was that also adequately sums up last week as well. they did have an opportunity to make it special for the Guardians. And yeah, I just don't think last week really didn't feel special. Although it's nice to say, oh yeah, you're getting
Mm.
all this. Well, that's marvelous. But it should be about the Guardians, not about you bigging up shit that's going to be meaningless in 6 months' time. Wow. Um,
Yeah, because there's definitely some nice things to come out of the Age of Triumph. Having a record book of 13
yeah,
pages, largely will be very much just ticking each box. But equally, whether they're successful or not, I guess we'll have to wait and see when it comes out. But I like the idea, or at least what I
yeah, yeah,
got in terms of what they were trying to achieve, which was not feel that you have to tick every box. It's more about what's your journey. It was, again, this is
yeah.
something I think we should talk about. It's the first Nightcast, but like some people won't have done Trials of Osiris, but that's fine because that's just the journey that you didn't walk down. However, you may have done the raids when someone else hasn't. So it's your
Yeah.
journey, and I think that's something that I like the idea of. As I say, we'll obviously have to wait to see how successful it is or isn't, but
Yeah.
that's I think that's something nice, and that is making us unique because I think as much as Destiny's become a better place than it was in year one of the things which I
Yeah.
don't like so much is a I can't even say it democratization of Destiny, that it's become a lot more casual friendly. It's easier for
Yeah.
everyone to get everything. Exotics are not exotic. Um,
Well,
they're not
I think
rare.
that
That's
that
probably a
is the
bit
thing. I
more
mean,
clarifying.
yeah, a game should be a challenge, and it should reward you for the challenge. Now, the counter argument to that, of course, is some people do not have the time to put
Mm,
into the game to be able to get the most out of it and be able to meet that challenge. And they would say, well, my 40, 50, 60 pounds or dollars is worth just as much as yours. Why should I be denied that
mhm.
opportunity? Um, just because I have a life. To which I would say, well, we shouldn't be denied it, but I also don't think it's fair to expect that you be treated the same as everybody else. If people do put in time and effort, then they should be rewarded for that
Yeah,
time and
and
effort.
let's face it, a lot of the things, like something like a raid, is potentially an hour, maybe plus, out of your life. But for one sitting,
Yeah.
isn't that much in terms of game time.
Well, 3 hours if you're doing it with you. But,
And well, hopefully they're not doing it with me. They're doing it with some competent people. Um,
oh,
so
okay,
it's me with
yeah.
11 bullets in my primary
Ow.
and not be able to hit a headshot. Um,
No, that's fair enough.
yeah. Oh my goodness me! There's all sorts of noise down there. Um,
Yeah, I've just killed an
Good man.
ogre, so
Good
that was
man.
something.
I found some primary ammo. So yeah, so it is that old argument, and it is a difficult one as to what the right answer is. But I think there is the opportunity to do the kind of the end game activities, and therefore get the more difficult stuff, and therefore keep it as slightly more unattainable for the more casual people. They may not get as much or as quickly, but they can certainly still get it if they can put in, the time into joining a clan, say, and because that's what it's about, isn't it? It's about having the
Yeah.
people to do the raids with you, to do whatever activities with you. Um, yeah. So yeah, I think that's really my overall feelings, is that it was
Oh, hell, too.
it was
Yeah,
a
that's not
bit
the
of
right one.
a missed opportunity. There was definitely some nice things to see, but a lot of it wasn't anything we didn't know. I'm really happy to see the old raids coming back. I know they were always there; we could always play them, but I don't know. It's just nice to be able to go back in with it as an actual challenge. Um, it's nice to have Fatebringer come back. Obviously, I have to keep trying to hunt an Imago leap. Um, but ultimately, in terms of the way they delivered that information, I don't think it's the most successful. It's exciting.
No, it wasn't riveting, and between the three streams, realistically, I think what it ended up being about 2 hours
Mm,
15. If you'd actually you could have taken an hour of that and condensed it down. I've had an hour of really good content, really focused on what you were going to do and what they were going to bring back and how people would be able to define their own game experience and, you know, go through their own triumphs of Destiny, you know, 1.
Yeah.
But no, instead, you know, they had to drag it out for whatever reason, and that was just kind of sad because I think it's actually quite demeaning. Ow, fuck. Yeah. That's also how I felt about the stream as well.
I mean, as you said before, it just diminished what is there, and the hype got deflated a little bit. You know, there was good things to celebrate.
Yeah.
I think they just need to look at it and perhaps choose a different way to go about it. So, was there anything else you wanted to kind of talk about in regards to the streams?
No, not really, because you know, I was underwhelmed by them.
Sure.
And so would everybody else if they'd listened to last week's Nightcast. But I think more than anything.
Okay.
Okay, right. This may not end well. I'd just like to warn you.
Just run around for 20 seconds, you'll be fine.
Yeah, okay.
Well, so to kind of touch on that end piece, which is the disappointment in terms of delivery of message, kind of nicely takes us on to I'm up in 3. If you can get to me, of course. Let me see if there's a dreg near me. The boss is walking away from me.
Still, he is. Yeah, he's walking away from you because he's walking towards.
Yeah, there's a dreg. He's about to teabag the dreg.
I'm just trying to get my super up. Actually, if I get my super up, then we're golden. There we are, super's up.
So talking about delivery of message, obviously we had the big news this week, more so than the stream, more so than Fatebringer coming back, was the release, or the leak, I should say, of the Destiny 2 poster, or what seems to be a promotional poster. I mean, obviously it's for Destiny 2, but from what I could glean, it seems to be more of an Activision Sony thing, because obviously it was Sony sponsored, and it was just promoting their exclusivity for the beta, which is coming out whenever that might be. I guess June, July time, sometime after E3, I would imagine. I was at work when it hit, but was just pottering around on Twitter, I think, so I actually saw it soon after it came out, and it went crazy.
It was actually interesting. I had a bit like in Star Wars when Obi-Wan senses that Alderaan's just been destroyed and he just has to take a moment. And as soon as I saw it, I just had a bit of a sit down. And my partner said to me, "What is it?" And I said, "I just felt the strangest disturbance in the Force. Like Bio has just suddenly got a very painful erection for no good reason." I jested. Yeah, there's nothing to do with Destiny 2. I probably just texted you or something. No, but it was actually nice to see, and I actually got vibes back to Destiny 1 with the poster. If you haven't seen it, it's 3 Guardians not wearing, well, what we assume are Guardians, 3 humanoid figures, one wearing what definitely looks like to be Titan armor. Standing on something, wielding weapons with, and I have to say this because a Soros shotgun, because as we all know, Soros shotguns have been really prominent in Destiny 1 all the way through, and it's what we've all craved for and cared about. I think that was like the most everywhere was reporting on it. Oh, Warlock holding a Soros shotgun. Nobody fucking cares. Ow, I'm about to die because something's beating me up.
But it was, it was like the second highest tweeting thing on the Twitter.
After your nudes.
Well, they're going to sell those nudes. So it was really nice to see that level of excitement over like a promotional poster. And and it was exciting. At first I'll be honest, I thought it was a controlled leak. Like, well, I still assume the Rise of Iron poster leak was. I assume that was a bit of a controlled leak by Bungie, but clearly it wasn't. It seems now that it was not what they intended, and obviously D just kind of, oh my god, where was he teleported to? This is what happens when I don't have sound. He kind of alluded to that with the way he kind of signed off on the week ahead. Oh god, I am catching myself on all the bits of scenery.
There was one thing I actually wanted to say. Now, I know the PC thing is still up in the air, but it was interesting. I had an interesting reaction to something. Let's just say I was watching a certain big streamer the other night, and he's PC only, and he was mentioning about how excited he was for Destiny 2 coming to PC, and I got really, really fucking annoyed by it, and because my anger was based off the fact of this has been mine for 3 years or 4 years. How dare you? And it was a totally abnormal and random reaction to have, but it did, and it's, oh my god, all the stealth vandals in the world having a party on my face.
He just one-shot me. Right, okay. Yeah, I've been asleep for the whole time, unfortunately. This is the problem with the
no, okay, well, thing. I'll just have to try and stay up. Yeah. No, it was really weird to have that reaction. And thank you. But I only mention it because I think it goes to the level of affection I have for the game. Oh my god, Jesus Christ!
So I'm up in 2. I'm up in 1. Yeah.
Yeah. About to get hit. There we are. You're up.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't see that, but it's probably a good subject to look at. I think the PC question is potentially quite divisive, and I have my own thoughts on it. But what's your thinking then? Obviously, having seen whatever this person said about it.
My only issue and my only concern about it is that we've all seen that, Destiny has been has been very prominent in the Twitch directories and Steam directories over the weekends, which is largely down to trials. There's no other way around it. Yeah, it's hardly a shock. And my only concern about it is that if you're further fragmenting the player base, you're saying, we'll bring in new people and we'll get all the PC FPS pros playing it as well, and it'll be really, really good. But will it really, or is it just going to dilute it further? And it's because you're then going to have a tier of, it's going to be better with a mouse and keyboard. It's obvious. Germans have currently shown us that it's better with a mouse and keyboard. So yeah, it just does concern me because it's going to fracture and fragment the core player base even more. There are going to be issues on PC. There will have to be issues on PC.
Yeah, it's the nature of the beast. And I echo. Yeah. I think fracture is definitely, I think the best way of putting it for me is that by its differentiating factors, it's going to fracture the player base because PlayStation and Xbox will never play together. Fucking hell. Is this 3 weeks in a row for Strange Coins for you? And I've just got...
It's 4 weeks in a row because this is 3.5, but every single week I've just got Strange Coins.
Yeah, you missed last week's, of course, but yes, you got 17 Strange Coins this week, 20, so you're going up at least. Yeah, I mean, I suppose to give a bit of context in terms of my own experiences with PCs and consoles. So I grew up with consoles, but then what year would have been whenever Doom came out, I got a PC. Not
1997.
Oh, it was earlier than that. So 97. I was I was
No, it
older.
wasn't.
Doom original shareware Doom was I think around 92.
Oh, okay, then, yeah, fair
92,
enough.
93, something like that maybe.
Oh,
You get Icebreaker.
yes, I did get an
There we go.
icebreaker.
3.5 was the trick. It's the one.
It was the magic.
There we go, audience. You've witnessed on my screen. Obviously, I can go and look at Herbal if he's put on.
Hang on, I'll put it on now. Hang on, there. Look at that sexy beast. Look at that sexy beast.
370 unlevel beast.
No, hang on. My wing. Do I get rid of my Irene?
No, keep the Irene. It's so good.
I'm gonna commit sacrilege. I'm gonna infuse a Matador into it.
Take rid of a sidearm. But yeah, whenever that came out, so it was the era of well, I've had 486, so pre-Pentiums.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
the mighty ones, the ones that ran at like 25 or 33 megahertz, not gigahertz. You know, like how your PC is now, or like.
I'm trying to even think what it was. I think it was 66. I think that was the thing. It was a DX 486 DX266. Yeah. Amazing. Yeah. So yeah, that's indeed what I was running at that time. So yeah, I got like Syndicate and Doom. I got the shareware, then bought the full game, which came in a little cardboard. They all came in cardboard boxes. There's a very thin cardboard box you ordered from id, essentially. You didn't buy it from the store. It's very cool.
Bollocks.
Yeah, and God, I got a weird bunch of weapons for an arc burn thing. And that was my main experience with PCs. I always remember them being quite cool up to a degree. Like, I was a big Mortal Kombat fan at the time, and
what are we doing, by the way?
Oh, just a strike.
Okay, fair enough. It's arc burn. Oh, okay.
And they had a really good version of Mortal Kombat on PC. So that was something that I really liked. But beyond that, I didn't really progress much from there. I played towards the end of my PC days. I played a bit of Quake, but I think by that time I'd moved on to Macs, and so it's because the Quake 3 beta came out of Mac first, if you remember such times. And that was it. So I never had a huge amount of experience with PCs. And so once I moved on to Macs, I didn't really game on them, and I'd quite happily moved on to consoles by that time as well. And so it really was the console gameplay that kind of drew me in. And so with something like Destiny, you know, that sort of first-person shooter, I'm sure the mouse and keyboard is more accurate, but there's something about playing on a controller that just feels a little bit more immediate. I don't like not the idea because I've done it, but I don't like the feel of using a mouse and keyboard. Like, the mouse side is obviously slightly more accurate, but the keyboard thing, I don't have the same connection to my character as I do twiddling my thumbstick. I don't know what your PC experience is.
Yeah, I mean, I must have got a PC around the same time as you, because we're of an approximate age, aren't we? I think it was a year or so between us. It's not much. Yeah, I think I got a PC, and I remember, I always remember the very first two things I played in a PC was Sam and Max.
Yeah, Sam and Max. Oh,
and X-Wing.
Oh yeah, I had TIE Fighter. TIE Fighter was really
and TIE Fighter was amazing. Anyway, sorry, this is Grandpa's Do Gaming right now, apparently. But anyway, no, I think it's, I grew up and whatever playing FPSs, and I remember I played COD 2 at a decent, I played COD and COD 2 originally at quite a decent level, mouse and keyboard, and so but yet now I think the thing is now, because I still play quite a lot of shooters, I can definitely always feel the idea why a mouse and keyboard is so much better for accuracy and precision. But like you say, I don't know. There's something for me that a controller just feels right. It just feels more fun, as daft as it sounds. I know it lacks precision and, no, 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 no. It's like, I don't care. I just want to actually have fun and play with my mates. And I think it's more engaging than sitting there hearing clack, 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 clack. What was that? Oh, I was just moving forward.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah,
yeah.
it definitely I would agree with that. It's just not quite as tactile. I don't know what it is. And also, and again, this I'm sure is entirely unfair for me because I don't. This is all anecdotal as opposed to actual evidence, but the PC community doesn't seem quite as friendly. Not to say the console community is the most friendly ever, because evidence is
No,
counter
it's
to
not.
that.
It's full of people like me.
Which is a horrible place to be, and that's why we try and contain you in the Nightcast.
Yeah.
But it does have, my perception is it being a little bit more elitist, not quite as welcoming.
Oh yeah.
And I'm sure there's.
I think. No, I was just going to say there is also a thing as well in that we're very fortunate if you buy a PS4 or you buy an Xbox One, although fuck knows why you'd be stupid enough to do that. But basically, you have a console that is going to last for a period of years. 5. We'll say 5. Let's be honest, because nobody thinks that the current gen is going to last as long as other gens have previously. We've already seen that with the PS Pro and other things. The market is already fragmenting. But oh my god, that Pro bio. But with the PC, you're on a much more rigorous update schedule.
Sure.
Graphic cards tech, GPU tech moves along very quickly. So it's one of those things, and it's like, well, okay, you might be able to play it now, but you're going to be able to play it in a year, 2 years when the next expansion comes out, and you might just not decide. So it does make me concerned as well that you're already fracturing the community, but then there's not really that potential for sticking around by keeping a level player, but even playing field for everybody as well. Again, we all know the thing about FPS, blah blah blah, frames per second, how important it is in shooters. In PCs, is it going to be like if you don't have 60 FPS, or don't bother playing Crucible? In which case, half of the game is going to be blocked off from certain people for whatever reason, and it's no good doing the whole. We have the whole get good scrub. Are you seriously going to tell me they're going to be arsehole saying, "Oh, if you want to play it, go and buy a better graphics card"? No, it shouldn't be like that. Realistically, it shouldn't be like that, and that goes back to the elitism.
It does.
I can play it. I can play it on my NVIDIA GTX 1060, and I can play it at 200 frames per second on my monitor, and it's amazing. And all this crap. Let's be honest. Most PC games are very difficult to actually run at full spec.
Yeah, like
because shadows and lighting is so intensive. So
the more that's the thing. Do they dumb down to the PC crowd in terms of, because Destiny is still one of the most arresting my words are not working today. Beautiful games.
Use your words, Myra.
But by PC standards, I'm sure it's kind of lacking in many kind of areas of volumetric lighting or whatever words that I don't know. And so, as you say, I assume as much as they can do. The technology exists. Obviously, that Xbox players can play with PC and even PS4 players can play with PC now. Would they actually do that? Because it would seem that you wouldn't ever have an equal playing field on things, especially Crucible, particularly.
No,
Crucible.
you won't. You won't.
And that's the thing. Console is a set experience.
Well,
even a pro user isn't.
Yeah, absolutely.
Massively ahead of a non-pro user.
Yeah, well, I mean, the Germans are all happy because it means everybody can use mouse and keyboard. But yeah, you can't have that crossover for the self-same reason. And again, I know I make the comment every week, but for example, guys at Blizzard, have come out and said to Sony and Microsoft, you really need to put a stop to people using mouse and keyboard because it's cheating. And it is on a console, but it won't be on a PC, and that's fine. Now there are other things, I think we spoke about this a couple of weeks ago. There is the thing that, if you're disabled, then it's perfectly legitimate that you may not be able to use a controller. But I'll just repeat what I said a couple of weeks ago. If you're trying to get around that simply to get an advantage, then it's quite sad. And there's no other way of looking at it. It's quite sad because it means that winning is so important to you that you will spend a large amount of money to do so. And let's be honest, that is properly pay to win.
Yeah, just a different way of looking at it, isn't it? It's not as egregious as something like selling loot boxes, which give you the pay to win.
But anyway, I digress. To go back to the PC thing, I think it's very damaging because it's going to move people, and it's not just damaging for Bungo. I think it's actually damaging for the long-term health of the game as well. As I say, Destiny's always very popular in the Twitch directive at weekends because of trials. Even when, let's be honest, for a long period of time, it was maybe not at its most competitive, and it's actually been quite tedious and quite boring because of the meta. But people still want to play it. People still want to go to the Lighthouse. That's great. But with the PC market, you see it time and again with various games, cheats, wall hacks, aimbots.
Yeah, it's difficult to know how they would control that sort of stuff.
Well, you see, right, I don't think Bungie have actually been able to do a good job on a closed system like this, like PS4, like Xbox. So if you're asking me taking it out into the wild, do I have faith that Bungie will be able to keep the game controlled and contained and safe from hackers and exploiters? No, I really, really don't. And I think that is going to be the biggest thing because, if you're going to get all the big streamers, if you're going to get strict people who currently stream switching over to PC, to play it on PC because, better frame rates, better looks, mouse and keyboard, but it is blighted by bugs and it does have its issues, then no, people aren't going to play it. People will fall away very, very quickly.
And I guess that's one of my concerns is that, again, this isn't probably based on anything too factual, but it seems that outside of a few key games, like the ones which are always top of the Twitch directory, like League of Legends and things like that, Hearthstone, the PC community tends to be a little bit more... they're going to switch around to their games a lot more. They don't tend to stick with one thing too often. And especially, I get the impression for things which are perceived as more of a console type experience, like, say, The Division or something like that, which has its roots in both sides of the scale. So it does concern me as well that, it's almost that Destiny can bring more to the PC community than the PC community can bring to Destiny.
Yeah.
So it's things like that which I question. I appreciate I'm probably saying incredibly negative. I'm sure there are positives. I'm sure Activision have the game. We've got the potential to increase our player base.
It's a big win for Activision. But just going back to the streamers, what if although there will be other big streamers coming in who will want to play Destiny 2, will they, with their massive audiences, stick by a game like Destiny 2 over 3 or 4 years if Bungie repeat exactly the same mistakes they have with Destiny 1? Because I don't think they will. And fucking ow. And I do genuinely think that's an issue because it goes further than that. What about the big streamers who currently support Destiny if they switch over to PC? How's it going to affect their channel? How's it going to affect their audience? It's going to create issues for the game long term, I feel, and I think it's purely motivated by a selfish ideal, a profit ideal.
Yeah,
Let's
I
be
could be
honest,
wrong, but
right?
I would imagine
Activision,
it's more of an
Bungie,
Activision thing. Than a
yeah,
Bungie thing.
yeah. But they're in this to make
Yeah,
money. Let's
absolutely.
be frank,
And let's and
So
let's not be unfair. They have the right to make money. I think it's just a question of how they go
yeah.
about that, and
Oh yeah,
it being
absolutely.
an overall positive win rather than a short-term gain, but long-term,
Yeah,
perhaps damaging experience. I don't know. I'm still not
yeah.
convinced it's definitely coming because
That is,
the people who seem adamant it's 100%. There's no chance it's not. My word, I'm getting toasted. Yeah, I'm still not 100% that it definitely is coming. I don't know. I could be wrong.
I can't see why it wouldn't come. Basically, it would be nerdy based on how close all the architectures are now. There's no good reason why it wouldn't come to PC. Particularly as well, it's also helped by the fact that there's a PS4 Pro, so there can be, given the PS4 exclusivity deal, there can be an upgraded version for PS4 Pro, which is lovely. I'm sure that will be delightful. But it just gives them more options. It's more revenue. It's a bigger revenue stream. It incentivizes Bungo. So I don't know. I don't really care. I just hope that the people who made the game it is today are not the ones forgotten because Activision want to go chasing money elsewhere. That's my biggest concern. And as much as I want to believe in Bungie, I just can't. It's that simple. I just can't believe in Bungie because there have been too much where they've had the opportunity to do magic and they've flubbed every single damn time.
See, I still got faith in Bungie. I think
harder.
Bungie, at its heart, are a very competent company and put out good products. Sure,
Is this are we talking about the same Bungie? I just want to know.
I mean, let's face it. This is a game that we've been
curious.
playing on and off, but mainly on for 3 years, which I think.
Are you going to make me be nice to them just because I got a fucking icebreaker?
But that
what is
at its core, if we just take Destiny just as its main component parts, it's an incredibly well-made game. The feel of its gunplay, of its movement, using your abilities is phenomenal. It really is not bettered by much. So at its very core, it's just a pleasure to play. And then you add on, all the other bits, and definitely there's absolutely things they can do better, and hopefully they'll learn, implement some of those in D2. I think we've seen progression along the way. It would be, I think, unfair to say that things like D1, the Taken King, and even the elements of more so the, how do they refer to it? The quality of life stuff that kind of came in with things like Rise of Iron. There's been step backs, as we were talking before about they could have moved to a more casual game. Personally, I appreciate some of that, and I think you absolutely want some of that to keep the larger player base around. But equally, you still want some things for the more hardcore player base to kind of go after. But overall, I think it's a really good game, and I think Bungie, if nothing else, are a company that wants to create the best, and they do a damn sight better than some companies do of kind of going about that. But to kind of
BioWare.
well, I wasn't going to say it, but you did, so that's fine.
I bought it. I'm allowed to criticize the fuck out of it.
I really do want to get that game. But we're going to wrap up. Wrap up in 10 minutes. We usually try and keep them around an hour. So anything you want to do in the last 10 minutes activity-wise? So amazing. We can do the...
I want to go and do another strike because I'm just short of ranking up. I've
got enough 3 coins now. So let's spend the last strike then to not to bring in positives per se, but to pick up on the current D2 excitement. Is it anything that you really want to see completely change for D2? Because I think it's...
Is there anything? Yeah.
Go on. So what's...
Do you want the long answer?
I want the long answer. As long as it fits within 10 minutes, I want the long answer.
Okay, no. I actually really like... I really like the original balance in Year One Destiny, where there was a very definite sense of progression, both in terms of story, moving through to doing strikes, towards doing the raids. And it felt like you were empowering your player all the way through. You were becoming more powerful.
You're becoming legend.
But becoming absolutely. But I don't know why, but I had that same feeling in The Taken King as well. But Rise of Iron never really seemed to do it. And whilst, we both admit we like Wrath of the Machine,
sure.
I think in comparison to the other raids, and the way the content was delivered, it's fluff. Because can you honestly say after doing Wrath of the Machine that you felt like your character had got stronger? No, you didn't. You just had new gear. That was the thing. And I think that was the misstep, because even with The Taken King, we had new skill trees coming in, new skill sets. So, there was that character progression. And I just think, after 2 years now, that's something we've been lacking. And I really hope that's something we get more of in Destiny 2. I'm fairly sure we will. But moving on from that, I would genuinely like to see them being a bit more thoughtful and reflective about PvP. And not just in what we're actually offered, but in the way that they approach it. Because, after 3 years of trials being exactly the same thing for 3 weeks, with the exception of 2 weeks, it's been exactly the same every single time. They have had an opportunity to mix it up, to give different play styles an opportunity, to give different game types a chance to shine in the sun. Just imagine, right? I mean, it's my most hated game mode. But somebody posted this to me the other day, and they said, "What about this? Can you imagine, right? If Trials one weekend was 3v3 Rift, right? 3v3. That to me actually sounds pretty fucking awesome. That sounds fun, right? Because it's about teamwork. It's about emphasizing teamwork. And I think that's one of the elements, particularly in the more competitive things, that's been forgotten about. It's not about teamwork. It's about the individual with the highest elo being amazing and being able to carry the other two.
Yeah, that's a very good point, actually. It has... I mean, there are good teams out there, but... it is about
there are amazing players.
Carry. But again, I think it's because the loot at the end of the stick is so tempting that it is very easy for people to they're good players to go through that carry process, and so it has created that sort of carry scene, hasn't it?
But you see, again, I have an issue with that, because I can honestly say Year 1 was okay, but Years 2 and Years 3, Blind Perdition and the Doctrine, they've been the only things ever worth getting from Trials.
Yeah, it's more because it is unattainable. So I mean, a lot of the weapons aren't great, but it's the fact that they can't be got, specifically the Adept versions. Anywhere else. Yeah.
If I have an issue with it, I was going to say it's something I hope they do more, and I hope they move away from the idea of with skins, weapon skins. But I think you could still offer the same weapons, maybe even variants of them, but with different skins. An Adept skin. A trial skin, an Adept skin, and it does mark you out as having done something different. But I don't. This kind of goes against what I was saying before. But you can't gate that stuff away behind something so impossible for the average casual player, you know, that you just say, you make it impossible. I do think there are better ways of doing it, I think. You know, the armor. Yeah, the armor's fine. Have a competitive armor. That's cool. That's, you know, that's not a problem. But I do think they should be more willing to engage and think, well, you know, perhaps we can still have all these cool things and everybody can have these cool things, but you make them even more unique, you know. Because ultimately, if you're worrying about the fact that, oh well, you know, I had to work really hard in trials to get mine, it doesn't matter. Somebody can play trials just as much and never get theirs. So why are you getting rewarded and they're not? But if you make it so that it's available to them one way or another, but they may not have the sexy skin for it, then they're not at a loss. They're not losing anything. They're not at a disadvantage. Again, seeing as you told me that it's my 10 minutes, I'm going to say, yeah, I want weapons to have separate PvP stats. That's it. You know, weapons do one thing in PvE. They can have all the exotic bonuses and perks in PvE, but I want PvE stats to be different and to matter. That way, just having a single exotic weapon, you know, won't be a big thing. If I had my way, I'd actually like something like as in Ghost Recon Wildlands, maybe even COD actually, where there is a scope for it that, you know, you can get different attachments off enemies and you can get white, green, blue, purple, exotic attachments, and it would change the way that the weapon held because it would give more viability and more scope, and it wouldn't mean you were just limited to, you know, one weapon and the way that that weapon is. You know, there is scope to make a bad weapon better.
Okay, yeah, I've not really played
without
either of those games. I don't know the way function. I guess for me, it's in terms of just kind of quickly touching base on your trials thing and the availability of stuff. I guess one of the things I would like to see, and kind of aping a little bit of what you were saying about going back to elements of D1 and that progression, is, you know, kind of touching base on what I said before, is to be inclusive, to have elements of casual, friendly activities, but as you say, have a greater feeling of progression from your character throughout a story. Because one of the best things that Taken King did, regardless of the overall quality of writing, etc., you did feel like the raid was the culmination of everything you'd done in the Taken King. Whereas with Wrath of Machine, which I think arguably is one of the best raids they've done, as an actual part of the Rise of Iron story, is quite disjointed. You kind of do the main story and like see this thing, and like the Iron Lords, spoiler alert, Iron Lords are you know, kind of seavified and whatnot. Like some of them are still alive, kind of thing. Yeah. And that was quite an interesting boss to a degree. But then that's it's like, oh yeah, by the way, we found out there's this Archon who's, you know, causing havoc. You know, go and sort it out. Oh, by the way, his name's Axis. The actual fight and everything like that's really fun, but you don't feel as connected to it as part of an ongoing story. It's just this arbitrary boss which has come up. Whereas Taken King was all about working towards Oryx. You know, he was a big bad. He was obviously featured, and so when you first saw him in his massive glory in the raid, it was quite a moment. So that within a story perspective, but then coupled with, and I think they would need to change it. Obviously, vanilla was very much to get to top level until Iron Banner came around. It was only through the raids. I think have that balance between top, you know, end game activities in PvE and end game activities in PvP. So you could, for example, be one or the other type of player, but you have to do those sorts of things to get the really good stuff. You know, a casual player theoretically perhaps could. What
I can actually see them doing is going down the competitive seasons mode in PvP, which I think makes a lot more sense, because not only can you have trials, but you can make sixes competitive, and there is the chance, you know, there is better loot. You are going to feel special. You are going to earn special emblems that you can't earn elsewhere. And it's one of those things, you won't be able to be carried in it. And it's if you want to sweat your tits off, then yeah, you can go and sweat your tits off doing it. And that's absolutely fine. And it will be a good thing for the game.
I think it's just having that separation. I think would be kind of bring an element of that back would be really good. Anything else though? There's always the obvious list of 60 FPS and dedicated servers, which I don't think is that big a deal. I think it's better netcode than dedicated servers.
Yes. Client server architecture. Can we discuss? Now, I would just genuinely like them to. They always say we're listening. I don't believe you.
Josh Hamrick is listening. How dare you?
Oh yes, only to you breathing loudly down his telephone line. I want them to prove that they can listen to the fans and that they can respond appropriately to the fans. And I don't want any of this casual audience bullshit. I want them to make it worthwhile for having stuck by Bungie for the past 3 years, for having bought 2 expansions, for having bought, so for having bought however many expansions, for having stuck with them and played their game through thick and thin. I want them, as fans of their fans, to give something back to the community and show that they have actually been paying attention. That matters more than anything to me.
Yeah, so I think overall I'm very excited for D2. I'm thinking positive thoughts. I think it has got a huge amount of potential. The fact that Luke Smith's at the helm is reassuring. He obviously did good work with the Taken King. I would agree with you in so much as I still think they do have some things to prove. I'm obviously not as critical perhaps, but that's why hopefully we work quite well. We can balance some of the views out, but I would agree that they do have some work, and I do think that for me it's not so much about the listening thing. I don't get the impression it's not they're not listening. I think it's that they don't always talk, and that's, I know we joke, at least I do, on the Hamrick thing, but it's because he engaged on such it wasn't engagement through a blog or anything like that. It was that he was actually out there talking on Twitter. Whatever format they want to choose is fine, but for him it was Twitter. And he was taking the time to kind of what I can only assume is to a degree deviate from company line. Now I'm sure it's not standard company practice to talk about things outside of an agreed company strategy or delivery of message. Because obviously, from a marketing point of view, sometimes, or PR point of view, you can sometimes slip up and say things that you weren't supposed to say, and then it's kind of like, oh, how do we bring that back? But I think sometimes you need to be a little bit honest and take those sorts of risks. You don't want to seem too corporate, because you are corporate. There's no getting away from that. But you want to try and give some impression that there's some humanity behind that corporate face. And for me, right at the end, and I guess that's why it's quite nice, he has absolutely done that, and I think that's one of the best things that's come from this period of Destiny, and absolutely something I want to see continue into D2, because it'll be very easy for them to sit back. We've got the shiny new raids, new whatever, all that sort of stuff, which can get all excited and then pull back on some of the communication. I think they need to keep it going. They need to kind of realise how successful that one employee has been in generating a lot of goodwill, because again, it's about sometimes, and I talked about this, I can't remember if I talked about it in the last one or one of the episodes, that people, it's my whole thing with freedom of speech, but I'll try not to go on too much of a tangent. But sometimes a dev or collection devs, they'll make a decision. The community may not like that, but that's not their decision, it's the dev's decision. So what Josh again has done is sometimes say, actually, I disagree with you. A member of the community will say, oh, I don't like the special ammo changes, for example. And there's specific, I can't exactly remember what it was about, but there's one thing where he said, actually, I disagree with that, but this is why, and this is why I feel it works. And so again, it's about having a reasoned conversation, and the person, thank God, the community member, responded in a mature way, which is nice, because often that's the downside, is that we don't always represent ourselves in the best way as a community. We come across as a bunch of twats.
Yeah.
So yes, that's another thing I'd like to go.
Sorry, what was that? Did you say gamers are a bunch of entitled twats? Yes, we agree.
So thank you once again. It's been a nice meandering chat. We've obviously touched on some of the things we talked about in actual episode 3, I think we answered some important questions about where we are and where we're going. I think that's what we tend to do here, isn't it? We bring results. You can listen to this and walk away happy, knowing the future of Destiny, basically.
We're all about the results, baby. All about the results.
Absolutely. Any closing thoughts? Anything you want to leave on?
No, actually, I'm just looking at my icebreaker.
Well, there we go.
Smart.
That's the closing thing. You finally got your icebreaker.
Yeah.
And it's shores of time this
really
weekend, so there we go. There's no better time to get it.
Oh my God! Rip me and rip my icebreaker. No, it's really weird because I don't play Destiny as much as I do now. In fact, the longest I usually play Destiny during the week is when I come on and I'm fuck around with you and I do this and it's still. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I know there is a thing that I sit here and I whinge and I bitch and I moan. But I think it's because I care. Do you hear me, Bungie? I care. I care too much about you and your shitty game, and I really wish you could stop making some of the mistakes that. Oh my God, I've got a Sparrow that's got disco lights on it. What the fuck is wrong with that? And it is because I care. And I think it's more concerning for me that just even as a gamer, that there are very obvious things that I can see and I can think how to fix. And I think that's why I was so keen on, I just want Bungie to listen. I want them to appreciate that they may be the game devs. They may be, no. But sometimes some of the things they've done not been brilliant. They need to take ownership and responsibility of that.
And we will continue to explore these themes in future Nightcasts, assuming that this one is recorded correctly. That is the biggest excitement for me. Has this recorded correctly? And with that, we will go and discover it. So thank you very much. I enjoyed, as always, talking to you. It's I think we've got.
No, you don't. You just put up with me because I'm so goddamn sexy.
That's 2 things that you have going for you. So there we go. And thank you for putting up with me. I am neither of those things, but I'm a bunch of other things.
Well, you do realise that this is court-mandated punishment, so I'm getting there. I'm working off my tariff. Spending time with you.
Well, as long as we're sitting nearing that 0 day, that's the main thing.
It's going to be a 0 day dilemma.
And I think we should obviously thank our hundreds of listeners. We appreciate your continued feedback. Your questions are important to us. We'll have an episode, I'm sure, where we...
Bob, we're very fond of you.
Where we answer all of your questions. I've gathered some... I think I sent most of them in. Like, why can you not record a fucking element of an audio stream? But I never got an answer.
It's because I am retard.
Okay.
There we are. I hope that's been answered to your satisfaction.
I think on that bombshell to Nick Dominic Diamond's line.
Yeah, you're stealing it from Top Gear now. Everybody else will be going, he's stealing Clarkson's line.
That's a Dominic Diamond thing. I'm sorry, he did that before.
Yeah, well, Clarkson probably stole it off him.
There we go.
So,
I'm going to the
OG. Okay, that's fair enough.
I'm sure actually Top Gear probably came up before Game Smart, I don't know. But that's where I got it from.
Yeah.
But yeah, so anyway, on that other bombshell, We shall leave you and see you next week. Thank you.